Take a moment and consider everything around you, all the products and services that are playing a role in your life. Now, imagine a world where all these products and services know about you, your likes, your dislikes, and more, and each of them are cooperating and working on your behalf. Now that's a big vision, a promise we've heard before from many others, but through a personal event network, it's a reality. You see, a personal event network transforms everything around you, letting them do more. Making everything social, a personal event network gets all the products and services around you connected. I'm not saying that everything will just be tweeting. Everything is working together to get things done, communicating, collaborating, and cooperating. Let me show you. Dan is a sales guy, and before he got his personal event network, he used to spend way too much time arranging his travel and tracking his expenses. But now, things are different. Dan thinks more about the deal he is closing and less about wading through endless flight options and tracking lots of little receipts. Let's double-click a little bit. Dan just scheduled a face-to-face meeting with a new client in San Francisco and enters it into his Google Calendar. Since his calendar is part of his personal event network, the calendar raises a new appointment in San Francisco event. This event is responded to by an app Dan has added to his personal event network called Trippies. The event from the calendar had all of the details, so Trippies set to work finding some flights that would get Dan to San Francisco. Trippies knows Dan's favorite airline and puts some carefully selected flight options into Dan's calendar. Dan chooses the flights he prefers, and Trippies books the flights and puts the confirmation details into his calendar appointment. Trippies then automatically books a car for Dan at his favorite agency and a room at a hotel he has stayed at many times in San Francisco. These reservations are similar to the ones he's made before, so Trippies simply makes the reservation and passes the details along into his calendar. Had the prices for the car or hotel been significantly higher than previous trips, Trippies would have presented him with alternative options and let him decide. Another frustration for Dan during the business travel was his expense report. Well, Expensify and Trippies take care of that too. When the flight to San Francisco is booked, Trippies raises the flight purchased event. Expensify grabs this event, creates a new expense report for the trip, and adds the purchase details for the flight. Now this expense report is queued up and ready to track all of his expenses when he leaves. Let's fast forward to his arrival in San Francisco. As he walks off the plane, his phone raises a new location event, signaling that he is at SFO. The car rental agency grabs the event and prepares the paperwork and car for Dan. He then receives a text message with the parking stall number for the car that has been assigned to him. As he makes his way over to the rental car center, the car that has been assigned becomes a part of his personal event network and downloads his radio presets and itinerary. The GPS then calculates his routes for his itinerary. For the duration of the trip, this car is a part of his personal event network, signaling and listening for events. After Dan's appointment, he gets into his car and heads toward his hotel. As he approaches the hotel, the GPS in the car raises a near destination event, which is picked up by the hotel. The hotel responds by preparing Dan's room and a parking pass. As he walks up to the front counter, the staff greets him by name and hands him his room keys. After Dan returns home, the Trippies signals an end trip event. Expensify sees this event and compiles an expense report for the trip, emailing it to Dan for his review. These are just some of the highlights for how Dan's personal event network changed the way he did business on the road. There are countless ways in which your own personal network will change your life. Each product you make social and connect to your network will provide you with even more value across the entire personal event network. Go to personaleventnetwork.com and reserve your personal event network today.